All right, thank you for joining us for the Snowline Unified School District regular board meeting as we reconvene from closed session. There are no items to report out. We will go ahead and do a school on spotlight tonight, a little tradition that we're starting here where we go over various schools within our district. And one I don't believe we've done prior is the Snowline Adult School. I had the privilege last year of attending the graduation ceremony with Dr. Holman here at Victor Valley College. What a great event that was. Headed up also by Principal Chad Brooks, also the principal for the non-traditional schools. Snowline Adult School offers free in-person and online classes with personalized instruction for students who are interested in either the high school diploma, high school equivalency, the career technical education, or English as a second language in a citizenship pathway. They offer dual enrollment courses with Victor Valley College, allowing students to earn high school and college credits. Snowline Adult School also partners with the Workforce Development Department's Regional One-Stop Center. The One-Stop Center can help you explore the career options, prepare applications and resumes, provide job leads, improve interviewing skills, and refer to education and training providers. So thank you to Snowline Adult School for being our school on spotlight tonight. And in anticipation of our student presentation, I would like to turn the meeting over briefly to Principal John Gardner of Wrightwood Elementary School for our Pledge of Allegiance.
So briefly, I don't do
it briefly. You want to the whole meeting, please.
All right, we've got a special student here. She is a Girl Scout, and she's going to lead our group in the Pledge of Allegiance. That's Mia Vanderbrut. Mia, you want to lead us? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mia.
Thank you very much for that. And to that student presentation, Mr. Miller, would you introduce us, please?
Absolutely. We've got a great room full of Wrightwood raccoons today, and they're celebrating a great learning opportunity we got to participate in, kind of a competitive opportunity. And it's called Destination Imagination, correct? Mm-hmm. All right. Well, with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it right back over to Mr. Gardner, and he can make the proper introductions.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Mr. Gardner, before you start, may I let you know that our streaming team asked that when the students speak, that they speak into the microphone so everybody will be able to hear. You, however, are not a student, but your voice projects very well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Mrs. Staff. I appreciate that. All right. School board and administrators, thank you for having us here. It's a privilege for Wrightwood Elementary School to come and be in your presence tonight. I've heard Dr. Holman say many times that we don't celebrate success often enough. And those words rang in my mind a few weeks ago when 6 teams from Wrightwood Elementary School, under the guidance of their advisor, Mrs. Melanie Primo, she brought those teams down to Arcadia, and they competed for the first time in the Destination Imagination Regional Competition. Had no idea how we were going to perform. It was the first time they'd ever done it. They were literally just learning on the fly of how this competition operated. And when they got down there, the kids conducted themselves with such poise, and they just they represented our school just so amazingly well with their confidence, their presentation, their poise, their character, and I was so proud of them. The culmination of that afternoon, all 6 teams came home with trophies. Every single student came home with medals, and the students just performed amazingly well down there. And so several of the teams even advanced on to the state competition that you'll hear a little bit more about in a little bit here. But I wanted to talk, before I hand it over to Mrs. Primo, I wanted to just share with you the evolution, how we ended up sending teams down to the Destination Imagination competition. It was about 4 or 5 years ago. Mrs. Primo created a club, a STEAM club, because she wanted to provide some engineering challenges for kids. And so the club became very popular right from the get-go. Number one, everybody loves Mrs. Primo. And two, they just loved the activities, the creativity, the fun that went into it. And so she has those kids. I mean, they're building robots. They're building, roller coasters and all kinds of things. And really, they're doing coding in there, really doing some neat things in that, what she called the Excel Club, an after-school club. And Mrs. Primo has been the recipient of a grant. We have a grant at Wrightwood Elementary School that's funded by an alumnus of Wrightwood Elementary School, and has committed to a $5,000 grant to a teacher each year for now. It's been extended 5 years. So for 15 years, we have a commitment of a $5,000 grant every year to a teacher who comes up with a creative idea, a creative program to implement with their students. And Mrs. Primo's been the recipient of that. She's added a lot of technology, like I said, the robots, the coding machines. They've got Lego sets that they create, and the kids can build Legos and code them so these animals can move and they can roar and all kinds of neat things. And so this, like I said, this Excel Club after school was really, really popular. Well, the sponsor of that club then approached Mrs. Primo and said, I love the idea of this STEAM club, but I want it to gain even more traction. Is there something bigger and better you can do with that STEAM club? And that was all the challenge Mrs. Primo needed to come up with this Destination Imagination team. And then she brought these kids in, and they worked. It started out 1 day a week after school. It went to 2 days a week. It went to 3 days a week. And those kids were working every day after school. Mrs. Primo was working with them. And what's pretty neat about it too, I tried to help them one day, and Mrs. Primo came running out of her room and stopped me, because one of the neatest things about Destination Imagination, adults are not allowed to help the kids. And so everything the kids achieved throughout this competition was completely their work. And, we've talked a lot about the 4 C's of a modern education: creativity, collaboration, communication, and critical thinking. This STEAM club, this Destination Imagination team, really brings that to life at our school. And I really want to give Mrs. Primo a lot of credit, because she has donated just an incredible amount of time on her own time after hours to make this club a reality. And I give these kids a ton of credit, because, and we talk about resiliency, perseverance. They had to fight through a lot of challenges along the way to become such a successful team. Now, I said you'd hear more about the state competition. We sent 3 teams to the state competition, and our improv team came away with the state championship. That's right. So congratulations. But all of these kids won medals. They all represented our school and our district incredibly well. So I want to hand it over to Mrs. Primo so she can talk more about the challenges and how that team came to life. And really why we came here tonight. The real reason we came here tonight was so that Mr. Primo and Mrs. Primo could have a date night. They haven't seen a lot of each other this year, so this gives them an opportunity to spend that.
Thanks, Mr. Garner. Thank you for having us tonight. It's such a treasure to be here and to bring our kids here and recognize them. They have worked hours and hours and hours in this program. And like Mr. Garner said, it's all student-led, it's project-based, and it's been such an awesome, awesome adventure. Great group of kids. I'm sad actually to see it end. We actually could have moved on to global finals in Kansas City, Missouri. However, we are declining the offer this time, but who knows, maybe in the future. That may be part of our journey. So I would like to give you just a quick overview. Destination Imagination has 6 learning challenges that kids can choose from. And we ended up choosing 4 of the categories. So I would love to bring up the kids from each of those teams, if that would be okay. All right, so one category is engineering, an engineering challenge, which involved the kids, which challenged the kids to build a 3-dimensional model using only natural wood and glue. They had to build a moving device, we can call it. It had to roll down a ramp and hit an obstacle, and then they had to put weights on it. It was quite the challenge. And actually, several teams started in that challenge. All of them moved on to a different one, with the exception of Team Bananas. So Bananas, come on up if you're here. They also had to develop a skit to go along with their device, and they had to explain a storyline with it. Do you want them to come up front, or do you want them? Yeah, come on up, Team Bananas.
Team Bananas, yay.
They were so creative. It was such a fun experience for me because I watched them create and engineer, and their idea. It was fun to watch their ideas develop, and they created a really fun axolotl story that went along with their device, and it was a really fun experience to watch. So they placed second place, and they had the opportunity to move on to state 2, but we were competing with Little League and some other events that were going on that day. So great job, Bananas. You were awesome. 2 of our teams chose the fine arts category, and we have Team Fireflies here, part of our team, Team 1 Fireflies, and Team Dream Team here. These are our 2 fine art categories. Again, lots of fun to watch them. These 2 teams had to create a story in which a villain took on a change somewhere within their skit. And they also had to create a costume change, a visual. It could be a visual, it could be sound. And again, it was really fun to watch their storylines develop. The Fireflies had a team that their storyline took place in a courtroom, of which the villain was saying she wasn't a villain, she was a princess, but then she was the villain. And they created some really fun costume changes with their light kind of a light show, I guess we could call it, and costume change. And then the Dream Team had a fun idea with lots of action and adventure in it too. And again, a villain who was pretending like they were not the villain, but ultimately they were. And again, they had a fun, interesting costume change as well. And they, at the last minute, realized, again, being that it's student driven, they right at the end realized, oh gosh, we're not following the guidelines exactly. And so they did a great job at the very last minute of really turning their costume into what it needed to be. So again, so fun to watch them. So great job to the Fireflies and the Dream Team. They actually ended up competing against themselves because at the regional tournament. And so we finished with a first place and a second place, and it was very, very close. Their scores were very, very close. So well done to both of you. Awesome job. Both teams. All right, let's see. We have our technical teams. We had 2 technical teams, and those were our tender defenders and our mountain climbers. So come on up, tender defenders. So the technical teams had quite a journey as well. They had to create 3 devices or 2 devices that had to overcome 3 hazards. And the hazards had to come off of, they had a list of hazards that they could choose from. So the tender defenders ended up with a team chosen hazard of a storm, a cave, and a hole. And their devices were your little mine. Exactly. And I know you're going to speak a little bit about your experience too. Good. So that's River there. He's going to share a little bit more detail. And then our other, the mountain climbers, their two devices were a flying car, of which they made out of an old storage container, put on some wings, some wheels, and your second device was actually a water shooter, a pretend water sprayer, to put out their hazards of a forest fire, a hole you also had, and a falling tree due to the forest fire. So again, such imagination. It was such a joy to watch them all create and develop. And great job to our mountain climbers. Mountain climbers also went on to participate in the state competition, as well as our tender defenders. And again, being that they were competing against each other, they did also finish first and second at our regional competition, which was really fun to see. Great job, teams. And I'll have River back up to give a little bit more detail from the student end. And we had our improv team. Our improv team, come on up. I got all of our others. Our last team. So our improvisation team finished first at regionals. They competed at state, and they finished first at state, which was exciting. State champions. And I believe Annika is going to speak a little bit too on the student end. But what was really impressive about this team was they had a lot of challenges. This was not an easy journey for them. They started with the technical, I believe. You started with the technical challenge, and you had a whole plan going with that, but it was like miniature, right? And so when I was checking in on teams and asking them, okay, how are we coming along? How's it going? They explained this whole great idea, but it was really small scale. It was using like Matchbox cars and a few other smaller type things. And it's like, okay, we got to think bigger, right? So we went back to the guidelines, we went back to the rules, and they were like, oh, none of this is going to work. So they had to start over. And you know, this is what was after a couple of meetings even. So then you moved over to engineering? Oh, science, you did, that's right. You were considering the scientific challenge. Started that, spent a few meetings on that. Research, they had to research a microorganism, I believe. Spent a few meetings on that, and the team wasn't feeling excited about it. So it was like, oh, we're not gonna do a scientific one. And so they were feeling a little bit down. I said, come on, we can do this, dig down deep. Look back to what's available still and see what you can make work. I want you to see this through. So they stuck with it. It was tough. There were some really hard times. They dug in deep though, and they finally chose the improvisation challenge, which required them to research 6 different festivals around the world. So they each chose a festival that they were interested in. They researched it, they learned it, and then they had to, on the spot, a destination imagination person chose one of their festivals, and they had to incorporate that festival into a skit. They chose a goal within it. Maybe Annika will be speaking of that. Will you be sharing specifically what you had to incorporate? I don't want to give anything away because you had a pretty fun skit. I won't give that away. I'll let Annika share that with you. But they had to, right then and there, they had 2 minutes to plan on the spot. Plan the festival, they had to incorporate that. And they had 10 cardboard boxes to use as props. So they had to move their boxes. They had to create a story. And then they had 5 minutes to tell their story, incorporating the festival, incorporating the unknown goal that they just had been given 2 minutes earlier. And halfway through, again, they had to kind of judge their time. Halfway through, they would stop, and then they were given a fork in the road. They had 2 more things they had to incorporate, or 2 more things to choose from to incorporate into their skit. And then they had the remaining time of their 5 minutes to act it out and make the magic happen. And they were so fun to watch and such sharp, quick thinkers, just as all of them were, super creative. So congratulations to all the teams. So proud of you. And what a journey it's been. So much fun. So can we invite a few students up to just, I think we have 3 that would like to share, maybe 4. Oh, maybe 5. Okay.
Yes, please.
So Annika, would you like to start just since you're up in, okay, awesome.
So while I and my team were working on our whole project, as Ms. Primo said, we sort of had a lot of things going on and a lot of things weren't working out. Then when we finally got to the moment that we found, I think we were doing pretty good in it, and I think that this was just a really fun experience, and that me and my team, we were all really happy with it, and we think that we did better in this new circumstance with that. So, yeah. And our skit at State, we had to incorporate the Chinese Lantern Festival, and our goal at the Chinese Lantern Festival was that we had to stop 2 cats from fighting. So I know we ended up having 2 people being the cats, including me, and the cats were knocking all of the lanterns down at the festival. And then our fork in the road was to buy a new car. So the people who were making the lanterns for the festival they were making the lanterns so that they could win a new car, and but the cats ruined it for them, so they ended up not getting their car.
So I'm River, and our team was the tender defenders. And last minute for state, we had 2 of our teammates actually drop out due to baseball and softball. One of them was the villain, and one of them was our horse. And our story was we were miners looking for a new cave. And we finally found the cave, but there was a tornado, so we had to get into the cave through there. And then the wall fell, and our villain came in, or we found gold, and then our villain came in and tried to steal our gold for a while. And then we caught her and put her in jail. But then we had, since she left, Ella, we had to switch up the rules. So our teammate that's not here right now, but he came to state, is Edward, and we made him be the miner. And Oliver right there, he was our new horse because our other horse dropped out. And I was the new villain. And then it won first place for instant challenge and main challenge and regional. So,
Great job.
yeah. Okay.
So he referred to the instant challenges. So there's 2 kinds of challenges. One that they spend weeks preparing for, and then there's the instant challenge as well, and those are spontaneous. They get the challenge right then. They have just a few minutes to figure it out and present. And we had several winners in both the pre-planned challenges and the instant challenges. So that's quite an accomplishment. Aubrey and Ella, you guys want to come up? Ruby?
Our challenge was the Fine Arts Challenge, and our concept was about a robot how he became a robot was he drank a drink that made genetics in his skin that when his skin touches water, it makes him a robot. And so our character was a janitor at first, which was Ruby, and then she turned into the robot, and then she started to cause all this mischief.
As the robot, as Aubrey said, I drank some suspicious water because I was thirsty. And then I decided to mop the floor in my socks. So I stepped in water, and that was a big mistake. And so I went around pretending to be the janitor, and these two detectives, they had to try finding me and like crack the case. And so like I'm going around changing disguises, being a desk lady, then being a little girl near a photo booth. They get distracted. I end up going back into like the office, and then I act like everything's normal. Aubrey comes in, I sleep gas her. So then I get Ella. I try putting her in jail, and then somehow Ella gets me in the jail. And that's how our skit ends. So I really liked it because it was a fun experience and a good place to meet like new friends. And I really liked it.
One thing she didn't mention is that one of all of our favorite parts of the entire skit was when was an object and a part of it. And the object was a homemade skirt that we made that was big and poofy. And then in that part, she was down on her knees, and we made her a whole little costume. We made like knee pad shoes and everything. And so me and Ella went up to her and we're like, "Where's your mom?" And she had no idea where her mom was. And so when we asked her, she's like, "Oh, I don't know." And so then we go into the photo booth because we think she's just a distraction. But then the photo booth becomes our distraction. And so in the last photo on the piece of paper, we drew another character in the back of the photo, and that character was the robot. And so we asked her which way it went, and she kept pointing every which way, and then so Ella would go that way and I would go this way, and then at one point she put both arms out and we bonked into each other, and that's how it ended. And then we finally got her in jail.
Maddie Bannon will be our last.
Hi, my name is Maddie, and during over like the last couple of weeks of the experience, it was kind of difficult because we learned that, or we had a lot of props and we didn't. We learned at like the very end that we didn't have enough space, and we it was like a very small square we had to perform in, and luckily at the challenge it was a little bit bigger, so we were able to, but we were kind of nervous that we wouldn't have enough space in there. And then so my teammates are not here right now, but it was very fun working with them. One of my teammates was my friend, and then the other ones were in a grade below me and my friend, and we ended up all forming one group, and we had very fun at the challenge, and we won first place, and we were all very proud of ourselves, and it was just a very fun experience.
All right. What we failed to mention is that these are third, fourth, and fifth graders. So it's neat to see the teams develop and work together from different grade levels and ages. They did a great job. I appreciate you guys giving us the opportunity to share with you our experience that we had. But most of all, I think what's clear is you can see why with kids like this and teachers like Mrs. Primo, you can understand why I consider myself the luckiest principal around. So thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much for coming out, and thank you, Ms. Primo, and everybody from Wrightwood, all the raccoons. It was awesome to hear everything that you guys have done. I mean, I'm kind of sad that we didn't know about it beforehand. I would have loved to have seen all of that. So congratulations to the board. Any questions or any comments?
Yeah, I just want to say, I think this is maybe we've had one couple in person.
Not many.
But not many. So it's good to see some in person and see all the hard work that you guys put into this stuff. Also, thanks to the parents. I'm sure it wasn't easy to, I think I heard 1 day a week, then 2 days a week. Then we were just kind of going all week, you know. So way to go, parents. Yeah.
Wow.
There'll be signs.
Yeah.
But will not involve, will not help.
Great.
We promote parent non-involvement.
Right. I don't know if that goes with what we always say, but I guess in this specific scenario, we're grateful for you not being involved.
Less is more, right?
But changing schedules, I imagine, was a part of it. So thanks for that. But to the kids, man, that's so awesome. Really glad to see you guys get involved like that. And of course, thank you to Mrs. Prim for all your hard work. That sounded like a lot. Not
out there, DI volunteers and appraisers, and so it was for sure a team project. I'm so proud of the kids, and thank you parents, rockstar parents, getting their kids multiple days a week, and down to the competition.
And to the kids brave enough to go stand behind a microphone.
I know.
That's not
Yeah,
the easiest thing
absolutely.
to do in elementary school. So thanks for getting up there.
That's tough. Anybody else on the board?
Nice work, Vaccinations.
Good job, yeah. So grateful we can get back to it, doing things in person. That's awesome. Dr. Holman.
Well, boy, I'd love to. To you parents, thank you so very much for supporting these kids. Like was just said, John Garner, outstanding job as a principal. Melanie Primo, we can't say enough of all that you've done and always do. But you students, I mean, I am so impressed, so proud. I think our last speaker, little Miss Bannon over there, talked about feeling so proud. I mean, we are so proud of all of you. You fifth graders are just so set up for success in sixth grade. But how many of you are in third and fourth grade? Will you raise your hands? So of you third and fourth graders, how many of you are going to do this next year? Yeah, gosh, tell a friend. We're so proud of you. Let's see them back. Can you bring them back next year, Mr. Garner? Because I'm sure they're going to be just as successful, if not more. I think you're right. I think you're right. Well done. So thanks so very much. Just so proud of you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Absolutely. You know, yeah.
They can
I
stay
know
for the whole meeting
how
if
much
they'd
fun the
like.
meetings are, but yeah, please feel free.
So working on next year, Mr. Garner. Great job.
Team Banana over there.
That's perfect, Mr. Miller. Thank you. Perfect.
Oh, Mr. Miller can tell you about those things. He was my principal.
Oh, that's, I know. I love it.
She was just asking about my experiences in elementary, and I was like, well, Mr. Miller can tell you.
Thank you for having us. Bye, Melanie.
Yeah, maybe a little too close. I'll bet you I was very much comfortable.
Oh my goodness, that's hard to fathom. Really? Well, but Mr. Miller's
Seriously? Awesome.
So awesome. And look at you today.
It was, sadly.
Well, we have public comment, but prior to that,
Yes.
Dr. Holman, any additional?
Yeah, I do. Just real quickly, and the comments really around Chief Bryce Mybeck. Chief Bryce Mybeck started just about 6 years ago here as just the chief of police, and actually, his final days in his role as chief are just very few, and they're before us because I think Monday will be the last days with us. And before we hear from him, because I know he has a public comment, I think all of us have public comments about him. Chief, I will tell you that I think one of your goals that I think you met is to leave the place better than what you received it in. I think you have. And to that end, I think what comes to my mind among a number of areas is where you've left Snowline better is with your expertise, which I think, even though you're a very, very young man, I think extends to about 40 years in law enforcement. Chief, you've put the department in a position of readiness that it's never been before, and readiness for, I would argue, sometimes some of the worst outcomes that we can ever think, and preventing those, as well as maybe some minor ones. But throughout that little continuum there, you prepared us to be better than we were beforehand. And I'm so very grateful for that, Chief Mybeck, because that's a legacy that will continue. Another legacy about him that you might not know is he's in his personal life, he's been a coach for Special Olympics for how long? How long have you done that?
For 5 years.
Yeah, for 5 years. And I think that says a lot about Chief. He did that for a bit while he was with, during this time right now. And I bring that up because when we think about law enforcement, I think, unfortunately, there's a perception that sometimes persists. It's not maybe with everybody, but there's a perception that law enforcement sometimes doesn't care about the people, and quite the contrary. We know that Bryce Mybeck does. He cares about Snowline Joint Unified School District. I bring up what he does on the side as an outstanding coach of Special Olympics to say that whether the students in Snowline, right, had special needs that need to be tended to or not, his work here and the legacy to leave in the regards that I just spoke to speaks volumes for all of the students, most importantly, but certainly staff members in our community. And so Bryce Mybeck, thank you so very much. He's going on to a different state. He's going to be up in Idaho, and we're going to miss those contributions that I just alluded to. But I know it's a different phase, a new phase for you in life that you're going to do that with your wife and family. And I certainly wish you the absolute best. We invite you back, of course, at any time, particularly for the retirement ceremony that we normally have at the end of the year.
Yeah.
But
I'll mail.
Yeah, we'll make sure we mail that plaque. But thank you for letting me say that. I turn it back over to you because I know there might be some other comments.
Well, I just appreciate, there's always been a level of surety, knowing where our department was, and that's what I'm doing. So I appreciate knowing that security was in place always. I connected with many of your officers, and just that sense of safety has always been there. So I appreciate that in my time here, even before of the board as a parent of students here. So thank you for everything you've done for us. We do appreciate it. The rest of the board.
That's a very important role that you've held for us, and your contribution has been greatly appreciated, and you're leaving some big shoes to fill. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for your service, and hopefully get used to that cold weather in Idaho. Definitely different than Southern California. But I've only been on the board for a year and haven't had any issues, and it seems like you've been doing a great job, so thank you.
I was just going to say you can come back for that retirement. What is it, just a special board meeting or a board meeting we have?
Yeah.
Yes.
May
We won't mail it. You can
20s.
come get it. And we'd be happy to see you again. But no, thanks for all the hard work. Again, we really appreciate it. I have children that go to school here, and so I like knowing that you guys care about the safety of these campuses. So appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I would like to say something. I would like to thank you, Bryce. Really appreciate your focus on those trainings at the sites with the students and the staff involved and administration. You know, that was something that we always received great feedback on, was that effort to make it as real as possible, allowing them to understand the real danger that can happen. And so you did a good job doing that, and I so appreciate it. I appreciate all of your support and help, and I look forward to being in the same spot you are in 2 years, 2 months, and like, I don't know, 17 days.
I'm sorry, I think that's denied. No.
But really, I do wish you well, and hopefully you do have a good snow blower.
See, Nancy's making a joke because I have a countdown clock on my phone that you know, and right now it's at 6 days and 14 hours. Like that. So, well, I want to thank you guys. I have Nancy for helping me navigate the school district systems, and Alan and Robert Chacon for basically being a sounding board when I got frustrated with things, and sitting down and basically just listening, and Sean Primo and his predecessor Dennis, who's coming back, and for helping me through human resource issues when I had them. And basically, Ryan, as the whole 6 years that I've been here, I've been a member of the Police Chiefs, California State Police Chiefs Association, and we've gone to their meetings, and I would hear little horror stories about superintendents who didn't listen to the chiefs, and a couple of school districts that actually got some serious negative publicity because of it. And my biggest thing that I can tell you is that Ryan would listen to me. I would come to him and say, you know, from my point of view of law enforcement, we shouldn't do this, or we should do this because of this and because of that. And he would listen, and and you know, I didn't always win the argument, but I understand from the educational standpoint versus the law enforcement standpoint. But Ryan listened to me and took to heart what I had to say, and that doesn't happen everywhere in the state. I guarantee you. We set up text to tip. We set up a behavioral threat assessment system that I showed to the U.S. Secret Service, and they said it was one of the best in the country. Just thank you very much for your support and your guidance and assistance in getting all those things done. And I leave here. I agree. I'm leaving it. Play the place in good hands, and I thank you for your help in that too. So thank you very much.
Congratulations. Enjoy.
Exactly.
Otherwise, that Mr. Gardner guy.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Yeah, thank you, Bryce.
Thanks so much. And we'll continue with public comments. I believe we have one comment.
Yes, there is one public comment tonight. My name is Tracy Wilson. I work for Snowline, and my children attend Snowline. I found out last week a few things that was never made known to me as a parent. Serrano's Avid team put together poster of teachers and staff. Under a handful of their names, they have their pronouns listed. I also learned Snowline purchased books titled Who is Rupaul by Nico Medina. This is the description given of this book online. Learn how this Emmy award-winning host, producer, and television personality become the world's most famous drag queen. Rupaul Andre Charles always knew he was meant to be a performer. Even as a young child, he loved to dress up and imitate the glamorous women he saw on television. How is this appropriate for school? Like I put in my email to the board members, Ryan Holman, Alan Miller, Sean Primo, and other Snowline staff this morning. There's a time and a place for educating a child about transgender, pronouns, and sexuality. It is not at the school level. This is the parent's job. The parent has a right to know what is going on. Wouldn't it be a good idea to ask the parent if they want this at their child's school? Also, I never received a parent consent form regarding this. My child at Serrano does not feel comfortable seeing teachers, staff, and student pronouns. This goes against our beliefs. I feel like our personal rights and beliefs are being infringed upon. Is Snowline's way to make everyone else feel comfortable and allow them to express their sexuality, and those who disagree with this have no say? Please don't be a woke line, be the Snowline I decided to work for and enroll my children at.
Thank you very much. That'll take us to adoption of the agenda. Are there any items to be pulled from the board tonight? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adopt the agenda as has been proposed? The chair will move. Do I give a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. We are virtual, therefore a roll call vote.
Yeah, yes.
All right. By roll call vote, we'll start with Member Kalum.
Aye.
Member Bristol.
Aye.
Member Behringer.
Aye.
Clerk Flores.
Aye.
I vote aye as well. The preferential vote of our student board member. Thank you, sir. Do appreciate that. And I will try to remember that for the rest of the evening. We have just adopted the agenda and on to consent motion. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move approval.
Thank you. A second?
I'll second.
And we'll take a roll call vote. Member Kalum.
Aye.
Member Bristol.
Aye.
Member Behringer.
Aye.
Clerk Flores.
Aye.
Our student board member. Thank you, sir. And I vote aye as well. We just approved the minutes of the March 8th, 2022 regular meeting and March 16th, 2022 special meeting of the Snowline Joint Unified School District Board of Trustees. Approved personnel motions. Approved resolution number 22-1566 to comply with AB 361 for possible virtual board meetings. Approved resolution number 22-1567 authorizing remuneration for a board member. Approved the board resolution for teaching assignment of the 2021-22 school year. Approved a memorandum of understanding between Snowline Joint Unified School District and Alliant International University. Approved overnight field trip, Serrano High School Skill USA State Conference. Approved the memorandum of understanding between Snowline Joint Unified School District and San Bernardino County Workforce Development Board. Approved direct certification of free and reduced meal application agreement 22-23-0020. Approved bid number 21/22-001, installation of audio video equipment, various sites. Approve the student expulsions and or stipulated expulsions and or stipulated suspended expulsions. And finally, the approval of the district financial transactions. Taking us to item I1, Dr. Holman.
Thank you, President Hernandez. It's been 5 weeks since we've been together. And so before the board here is this regular item that we have to provide updates specific to the learning designs during this pandemic. So with that being said, I want to thank Robert Chacon in advance for operating the presentation remotely here with our technology. And so with that, I'll just jump right into it because again, this has been a familiar item for the last 2+ years. So as we go to the first slide there, or I guess second one technically, Robert, we'll see, again, those outcomes, that shared understanding as well as shared commitment. And then the agenda is on the next one, slide 3. And what we'll be focusing on just real quickly, you'll see very often or not very often, but almost all the time, the public health guidance and the data. Vaccination event results are on the agenda for today. Also some resources we want to bring attention to. And people have been asking about vaccination, the status for both students and staff for the coming year. Talk about that. Guidelines for with the CDPH have changed, which we'll mention real quickly. And the most frequently asked question is I always put up there, and then end with our next steps. And so, Robert, thank you. As we go to slide 4, we see the health guidance and the agencies, those 5 that are providing that guidance for us. The next slide is that commitment that we always talk about. And then as we go next, we know that we both have at-home, online homeschool through Snowline Academy and the in-person design as well. Those metrics that we've used for so many years, we continue to monitor them. You're very familiar with them, and that gets us to their 5 communities. The data come to us from San Bernardino County. This first one is Oak Hills. You can see now the case rate in Oak Hills as well as the positivity rate, very, very low. And can't get any lower, really, at 0, right? As low as it can get. And then the next one for Phelan, again, you'll see some low numbers. And I'll continue this trend with Pinion Hills Elementary School. The next one after that is the greater Victorville area. Still low case rates and as well as positivity rates. And last but not least, Wrightwood Elementary School with that lowest of low, just like the first one where we started. So great news in that regard, right? The idea that the impact of COVID-19 has certainly decreased. And these data, if you're wondering again, the end of March are the most recent data that we've gotten. So when we go to slide 13, Robert, thanks for doing so. Let's look at a larger scale, our region. We heard John Garner, Wrightwood Elementary School, along with Ms. Primo and the kids talk about regions. So our region is San Bernardino County. You can see the daily case rate from February 5th all the way to March 26th to be on a downward trend. You can see from the 12th to the 26th, really a leveling off. And that's what we've heard from our director of the public health department in the county, that it's really leveled off right around that 3 to 4 range. With the daily case rate. You can see the positivity rate as well remaining quite low. Let's go to Snowline. Let's get in our own data here. And from February 5th to the 26th, you can see a really dramatic decrease for the first half of that. And then ourselves leveling off at low numbers there too, which again, we just saw them in the 5 regions. It sums up to a 1 daily case rate, 5, or excuse me, I don't know why I said 5. It should have been 3 cases in the week of the 26th and only 1 youth case. I mean, really exciting news in that regard. Those are the most recent data. Those are in arrears, right? We're about 2 weeks in arrears, but still great data to see. Now, as we continue from there, it gets us to our dashboard. This is on our website. Again, Robert Chacon monitors this very well. It's all of the active cases now. Currently, students and staff members in isolation, and you can see 3 individuals right now, right? Again, kind of just in line with what you were seeing in the data that we're just about 2 weeks in arrears. And then just give you some more data points. I've reshaped a couple of these slides just so you can see over a larger amount of time the active cases. You've probably got this number in your mind. You remember 233 active cases was the most we ever had during the Omicron surge. That's again, active cases, COVID-19 cases, students and staff members in isolation, 233 on January 17th. You can see all the way to April 11th down to 3. We've from March 7th to April 11th, we've just been between 1 and 3. So there's that leveling off piece too. Again, the data to show our own data showing how it's leveling off just like in the region. And then Robert, when you go to slide 17, another indicator, our open teacher subs, how the impact of COVID-19 has been significant. 41 open substitute teacher positions back in the middle of that Omicron surge. It was just incredibly impactful. You can see it's much lower now. It's not quite at 0. It speaks back to staffing and so forth. But again, those trends lowering. And then when we go to the aggregate on the next slide, Robert, with those numbers continue to go up because they would not decrease, right? We're just adding each week after week, individuals who are testing positive for COVID-19 in those 3 groups, I would say, right? Student, staff, and then students and staff together. So you can see those numbers. And then the vaccination rates are on the next slide, in slide 19. Those have slowed, not just in our community, not just in the county, but throughout the state and the nation. They've really just slowed to just the smallest of increases each week. You can see our regions, that left-hand side, any vaccination for our own regions, the county and state, like I said. When we go to slide 20, though, I want to bring attention to some resources for everybody. We have free rapid test kits. I want to thank Robert Chacon for signing ourselves up for another opportunity to get students and staff more free rapid test kits so they're in hand. People might say, well, Ryan, the prevalence of COVID-19 is not there, but to have these rapid test kits when you need them, please come and get them at the school sites. If you haven't gotten them, more rounds coming to us, hopefully. So we're looking forward to that. Also, from a resource standpoint, the weekly staff testing that Sean Primo heads up and Robert Chacon is also another one who's doing great work in that regard. That the unvaccinated staff members, that program is still in place. I think it started in October and it remains in place. Individuals who are vaccinated can still be tested too, so it's another resource for people. And then also know that vaccinations throughout the county, and at times they come into our community when they are ready, meaning the county wants to come to our community. We always take them and just make them available to people as they come our way. We'll certainly make sure that everyone knows if those will be forthcoming. Nothing right now in the works, though. And so, Robert, when we go to the next slide, I think that's 21. Thanks. Let's just talk about the status of vaccinations as a whole, because people keep asking, hey, what about the executive order, legislation? What's happening? I heard some legislation was withdrawn. So let me try to just go through it real quickly. Right now, what's in place again is the executive order. It remains in place. Governor Newsom quite a while ago said students are going to have to be vaccinated to come to school whenever, right, full authorization occurs. And we're still waiting for the 12-year-old all the way up through 18 in effect, but the 12 to 16-year-old authorization to occur, it has not occurred. So that executive order has not been put in place. That's for students, but attached to that executive order was that staff members would be in line with that. That is still in place, but because, one more time I'll say, that the FDA approval has not come through, it has not been enacted. Well, running parallel to that are AB 1993 and Senate Bill 871. Those two are legislative actions. I'll speak to the difference about a legislative action and executive order in just a moment. But those two bills, different stages right now. AB 1993 was withdrawn. It was for all state employees. It was a requirement, as how that bill was written, that state employees would have to be vaccinated. Assembly member, I shouldn't have even said, the assembly member who sponsored that bill, I think it's Buffy Wicks, I think is her name. She withdrew that. And so that bill is no longer active. So that bill is in effect withdrawn and is no longer impacting potentially employees as it was written. So that one's off the table. As for Senate Bill 871, that's sponsored by Senator Pan, that one is still active. That bill is still in process. It has not been approved. You know that I do work with some other board members and superintendents on SANDABS, that advocacy group, where we'll get an update tomorrow on that. But at this stage, that bill is just in the process. I will say again, not approved. Now, the difference between the executive order, again, and legislative action, you might be saying, well, Ryan, if the governor has an executive order in place, what's the difference in legislative action? Well, legislative action will remove the personal exemption. If in fact the executive order remains in effect and somehow is enacted for next school year, we'll let everyone know if that's the case. But if it is, the personal exemption will be in place with an executive order. If that legislation 871 goes through, the personal exemption would go away. And again, at this stage, that bill has slowed a bit, is my understanding. I'll have more information in our next meeting to provide all of you based upon those advocates who are working for San Bernardino County, who are up in Sacramento, and will be able to tell us the status of Senate Bill 871. So as it says at the bottom, we'll definitely want everyone to stay tuned. And my commitment is to keep everyone informed as we get new information in that regard and all others. And so, Robert, thanks for hanging out on that slide. We'll go to 22, just some quick guideline updates there, really in one major area, and that is with close contacts. And simply put, If exposure occurs, and that is Ryan Holman, let's say I test positive and Nancy Stapp is next to me and she's exposed. If she is asymptomatic as a student, meaning she shows no signs of sickness, she can now stay in school. That's a change. That's a change from throughout the pandemic. That was never the case. It now is. And so again, if a child is exposed to COVID-19, whether it be in school or out of school, and does not have symptoms, asymptomatic, all aspects of learning continue. And that includes the extracurricular activities that were not in place before. So that's I guess an exciting change for us, because we of course want kids again in school when they're asymptomatic. And that's again regardless of the vaccination status. And the change does say within the 3 to 5 day window, they should be testing just to make sure that they're not testing positive. So thanks, Robert, for being at that slide. The last one here, well, I said the second to last, I should say, is just the most frequently asked question. And right now it's about this surge that's occurring, the BA2 variant. Hey, Ryan, what are public health officials anticipating? And simply put, I'll read this. At this point, it really is too early, is what we've heard from our health officials, how impactful BA2 variant, that new variant, will be. It is the dominant strain right now, but there's no consensus as it relates to what will happen. So it's highly contagious, as I think those officials do know, but the effects of of an infection seem to be relatively mild. And right now, what our health officials are saying that they're doing is those mitigation strategies, such as vaccination, remain the focus from the CDPH and the San Bernardino County Department of Public Health, as more data are generated and gathered, I should say, to determine what the ultimate effects of the virus will be. So we don't know where we're going with this virus, other than to say we'll keep you all updated. Hopefully it will remain right now to be a smaller impact. Both Robert Chacon and I, we have the ability to be in front of those state health officials and other emergency Office of Emergency Services officials, and there's even some debate between them. All we know right now is we'll continue to monitor it and make sure that everyone knows if things do change. And so we'll just end where we always do, and that's what next steps. Please know, these commitments here. And I just want to give a quick shout out to all the family members who continue to engage in those self-checks. Those are really powerful, not just for COVID-19, but across our system. I know that many families have been doing that well before COVID-19. I urge everyone, not just because of COVID-19, let's do those those self-checks at home to ensure safety at our school sites. If folks are sick, we keep them home, of course. If they're not, please come to school. It's the best place to learn, because when we attend, we achieve, right? Attend today, achieve tomorrow is certainly one of our mottos. We want them here at school when they're healthy. Also, we'll communicate the important information and certainly take advantage of those free resources. With that, I'll just turn it back over to you, President Hernandez. If there are any questions, we'd be happy to answer.
Thank you very much. I have no questions. So the board?
I just have a question just regarding the SB 871. Obviously, it's at the state level. Who would people contact what would be the best contact if you were to be for that or oppose it?
Yeah, that is such a great question, Member Bristol. The short answer is our elected officials, right? And we have those on our website. We'll make them more prominent too and make sure that they are. So I think our communication directly with our assembly members, our senators, and certainly the governor as well, right? We've been urging people to do that. So thank you for that question, because again, what we've been engaged in is not making up the rules, we follow them. And so it's a great time right now to be able to, again, contact our state elected officials. And it's relatively diverse, and we put that on the website. We'll make sure everyone knows, because it does cut through our own boundaries, and there are different ones for different areas. So we'll make sure that's available to everyone. Great question, guys.
Any others?
Oh, I see. Robert, hand up too. Sorry.
Oh, Mr. Chacon.
Oh, sorry, just want to let you know the author of 871, that's Senator Pan. So his office can be contacted, and the two principal co-authors of that bill are Newman and Weiner, so you'll be able to reach them as well.
Sure, thank you. Okay, there are no other questions. Thank you for the presentation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that'll take us on to where are we at? Just looked. item J1, and we'll turn that back over to you, Dr. Holman.
Yes, thanks so very much. It's a second reading and final approval. I know it seems a while here in the making, right? But it's 5 weeks, right? So last time we introduced that one, and this is just seeking your approval. Certainly any questions, we'll certainly field those, but just ready for approval from our standpoint.
Sure. Any questions to the administrative regulations and board policies? All right, hearing no questions, I would take a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
Thank you very much. And we'll start with our student board member for their preferential vote. Thank you, sir. We'll take a roll call vote. Member Kalum?
Aye.
Member Bristol?
Aye.
Member Berenger?
Aye.
Clerk Flores?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. And motion passes. Taking us straight to board member comments. And we'll go ahead and start with student board member. Any comments tonight?
I forgot to tell Keith Bryce when he was here, but even though I don't know him as well, I walk in every day and just see him doing his job with such poise that I have to just appreciate the work that he's doing for this.
Very kind. Thank you. All right. And we'll go to Member Cologne.
No comments, thank you.
Thank you. Member Bristol.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank the students that came in and gave their presentations today. It's exciting to see the students be able to get out post-COVID, doing field trips and different trips. Just recently, my son was involved in the FFA state conference, and they were able to go to Sacramento and do that through the school. During COVID, we were able to keep most sports, I think, intact. But all of the conferences, all the field trips, all of that normalcy seemed to go away, and we're getting back to it, and it's real exciting. And it's good to see all those students doing that. So thank you.
Very nice. Thank you. Member Berenger.
I had the privilege of attending an Avid awards ceremony last week at Toronto. And Avid is the advancement via individual determination. And it really is an effective program that teaches good study habits, learning skills, and promotes college readiness. And so a number of awards were presented to the students that were present by their teachers, Mrs. Drew, Mrs. Anderson, and Miss Thibodeau. And the great thing about the program is that a lot of the seniors that were present shared about the colleges that they've been accepted to, which really presents and opens doors for them. And I think that Avid is just a fantastic program. And our teachers just have such a commitment to the students through those methods. It's wonderful. And that's all I got.
Thank you very much. Clerk Flores.
Yeah, just kind of a personal one. I know we always joke around before meetings begin. You always say, it always comes back to baseball. We are in the middle of baseball season and enjoying coaching with Sunset Little League right now and also with High Desert Pony League right now. And with my daughter here and my son over in Apple Valley. And just wanting to let the coaches know, I think it's Coach Romero, right, for the girls softball, and then Coach Rupaul with the boys, that we're preparing a crop of young ball players, and they're getting better every week. And again, just a big thank you to Snowline for letting us use the fields here, and a quick shout out to it's fine. We had just a little issue where we needed some water, and I didn't know who to call so we could water the field down the way it was supposed to be, and so I just pulled out my phone and texted Bub and said, Bub, can you find out what I need to do? And within a day, he had it all taken. So we're grateful to Bub for all his hard work with baseball. But yeah, just enjoyed the season, and it's got us super busy. So so to all those playing in both, Wrightwood Little League and Sunset Little League and just all over again, it's just it's a fun time of year. And we're looking forward to come and trying to get our young kids to go watch the high school play so they can kind of get a better understanding.
All right, thank you. Well, it does all come back to baseball because it is a great sport. I do enjoy watching, but it is analogous to life. It is teamwork. It is individual effort. So I can absolutely appreciate the baseball talk, and so thank you very much for those comments. For me, it was just really wonderful to have Wrightwood out tonight. The Wrightwood Raccoons and presentation of the was it Destination Imagination. And a huge thank you, of course, to Principal Gardner. Really appreciate you and Mrs. Primo for being such great advocates for this collaborative learning experience for these kids. It's really doesn't sound like too many schools that are engaging students this way, though I hope I'm wrong, and maybe we'll get more presentations out of it. Great to have everybody in person, and honestly being able to go back to these types of events that school is built for. That was the reason that we are social creatures, and we are our habit is to be around others. So to be able to perform and to engage together again is just really great. So I appreciate your support of that, Mr. Gardner, and of course Mrs. Primo. Another thank you to Chief Bryce Mybeck for not only the years of service to Snowline, but to law enforcement community and serving an entire career serving the public. It takes a special person to do that. I know many amongst us. We have one here that does that public service, but it is a big part of our connected life and everything. So I appreciate his full career and the last years with Snowline, preparing us for the next things. So, and I do want to have a comment that I will say, and I will always support the efforts to be more inclusive and accepting of every person that has been historically underrepresented, and to be honest, have been targets of intimidation. And so if a person wishes to be addressed by certain pronouns because they identify as such, I have no problem with that, because it takes no effort on my part to be more accepting and more inclusive of everybody. So I will always be supportive of those efforts here and in this district. And that's all I have. We'll go to administrative comments. We'll start with Mr. Chacon.
Yeah, thank you, President Hernandez. I'm going to take a quick 30-second video and give a shameless plug to my brother. So we both come from the fire service, fire departments, right? And so this week was pretty awesome. I know he has been really excited to bring this resource to our students. So before I tell you, I would rather show you. So just give me one quick second. Just bear with me. All right. So he's been waiting a long time to bring a working fire engine to the fire program up at Serrano High School, part of our CTE program, the only fire program in the high desert. And because, of his background and our connections in the fire service, he job places a good majority of his kids with CAL FIRE for seasonal work. He places them into VVC. He has articulated programs with VVC, medical pathway programs. They're going to jobs with the Forest Service, starting on helicopters and ambulances. So a pretty legit fire program, and even now better with a working fire engine. Pretty excited. Just to date myself, that was the first type of fire engine I worked on, Model 14, back in the year 2000. So I feel really old now talking about that. So thanks, guys. But it was awesome to be up there. His kids were so stoked. They were so excited. So they spent the week outfitting their engine, laying hose, and putting hose lays in there, and putting equipment on there. And so it'll be a really good tool for those kids. They'll have a really great working knowledge when they get placed right out of high school into good paying careers.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Very cool. Thank you. And Mr. Miller.
Thank you, President Hernandez. Just a few things on the list. Like you, very excited to have some students in person tonight. We'll start gaining some momentum moving forward, especially going to the next school year. Just for you to be able to anticipate another student presentation this coming board meeting on April 26th. We'll have Cleveland Elementary School here presenting on some of their social emotional learning practices over there at their school. So looking forward to that. I had the chance as a spectator to go watch, see how they run Toronto Theater Arts presentation for performance. Recently, it was really good to see the great talent on stage that they always produce. So enjoyed, looking forward to Little Mermaid, which will be coming up in the spring. Had a chance to be over at Vista Verde just for my weekly meeting with Shat Jehovah last week, and happened to show up at a great time. We were having 2 in-school field trips, so traveling field trips, in which they brought in an American Colonies / American Revolution field trip, or presenters, I should say, to give the kids some learning, some lessons, and as well as some hands-on learning regarding that topic. And then that was 5th grade, because that's in line with their history, social science standards. And then they also had some hands-on science going on for their 2nd grade students. The kids were making slime, so they were having a good time doing some hands-on learning while under the instruction of the presenter, who was telling them just certain concepts of the science that they were implementing, but they had a great time while doing it. We also have young artists coming up, and as you can see, we always keep our boardroom packed with some great arts, and we're looking forward to transitioning this art to our next round of art samples that are starting to come in. And we will be recognizing young artists on May 10th, so we're looking forward to that. And then on the professional learning side of the house, we had some professional learning community administrative training last week. It was good. It was an all-day session. This was day 2 of training for them, in which we had a great presenter come in and just work with us on kind of recalibrating our professional learning community practices, and so that we can in turn replicate that learning in our own school sites and really start to enhance those practices. A lot of us were formally trained a while back, but it's good to receive current and relevant learning that we can take back and make our professional learning communities, whether it be at grade level or department at the secondary level, just more productive and just enhance those practices of working collaboratively and not in isolation. And then lastly, we have a grant proposal or plan that we'll be bringing to the school board, the next board meeting. It's going to be a 2-part approval process for the A through G completion improvement grants. The grant money last several years and is for the district is north of $600,000, and we'll be able to apply those funds in implementing some great strategies that will increase our A through G completion rates at both Solano and Snowline Academy. We've got both schools working on a preliminary plan. I got the chance to work with Toronto High School today. NTS already submitted a plan, and they are taking this process very seriously and being very thoughtful in what they can implement to increase the levels of college readiness at their respective schools. So look forward to bringing that plan back to you on the 26th, and then bringing it to the subsequent board meeting for approval. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Mr. Primo.
Thank you, President Hernandez. Make sure I'm on there. I would probably say, of many things that we could, so many positive comments, but I would just say, hold on, everyone, because this, for the first time, is what we would consider to be the end of the year craziness, right? And we have so many events, so much recognition. I was just meeting with John Garner last week, and he had his calendar out, and he's trying to squeeze in every possible recognition opportunity, every possible fun and field trip activity we can do. And we have not had this for several years. And so much as we pull our hair out during this time, no point to you, Mr. Garner.
I know, right?
But at the same time, I would just have to say, it is nice to see a room full of kids doing what they were doing tonight, right? Because we know that that's going to be graduation, promotions, all of those activities that we have coming up. But we know that it requires an incredible collaborative effort from our staff, our parents, and our students to make all of this happen. So again, hold on tight, everyone, because it is going to get only busier. It's going to get only more amazing and only more reinforcing that we have an incredible staff in Snowline to really make all of this happen. And everybody is just excited to be able to do spotlights for kids and do activities for kids, all while they are stressed beyond belief, because this has been a crazy roller coaster ride of the school year. I would probably end my comments tonight by just simply giving you a little more context about where we started our presentation. As was pointed out by Mr. Garner, that is my wonderful wife that puts on that extra energy to kind of go above and beyond. But she also is great at recruiting. I don't know if you were aware, but Mr. Garner and I actually both were judges at the regional event, right? Mrs. Deborah Peace, she also attended. Robin Scott attended. I think there's a few others that also were judges. But what it offered us was an opportunity to see Destination Imagination beyond what our experience was. We had students that had been doing Destination Imagination for 8 to 10 years or more. There were kids that started in 3rd grade that were seniors in high school. Arcadia High School actually had a Destination Imagination club that's the reason they were hosting. They had students that had been to all levels, including global. And it was really fun to listen to them talk, but watch them perform, what kids can get to when they spend a little bit more time doing that. But I will tell you, though, again, I'm so proud of, our students, so proud of our school, so proud of my wife for all the energy she put in. And I'll say this, that roller coaster ride she described the kids on, I can tell you from experience, she was on that same roller coaster ride throughout the entire process. Thank you, President.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Stat.
I would also agree. John, I just love that. I loved it. What I love that really stuck out with me on that is just the innocence of kids and the joy that they get from being a part of something bigger than themselves, as Ryan often says. And I love that. I was so grateful to be able to see that and have them here. Also, as Robert Chacon showed you that video, I was thinking, I'm grateful for that program. I have a grandson that's involved in that program, and I hope that he sticks with it and really recognizes the value that can bring him in his life. And the overnight that was approved by the board this evening for the Skills USA. I have another grandson that's a senior this year, and he was selected as one of the winning teams to go to the Skills USA. And I know that he is just thrilled. So I appreciate all the work that goes on throughout this district, and that's it.
Thank you very much. Congratulations there. All right. And finally, Dr. Holman.
Yeah, thanks, President Hernandez. Boy, I mean, so many powerful words have been shared relative to what happened here tonight, right, with Wrightwood Elementary School. And I can't help but now make the parallel of our core values. One of our core values is world-class education, and what John Garner, Melanie Primo, all those students and all the parents demonstrated was just that, a world-class education for those kids, for that entire learning community. And then you think about, right, the parents there, even though as much as I appreciate, John Garner's humor and the notion of lack of engagement, we all know, and I know he knows more than anyone, right, how engaged those parents were and are. And that's another core value, right? Our Snowline partnerships, that doesn't happen without the partnerships to be at the highest of levels so that those great outcomes occur. And it's really all born out of what I would argue is the most important core value: our people matter. You just saw in here today that we're reminded what you began talking about, Member Bristol, about the power of those experiences as being part of a world-class education that just really gets to those outcomes that are much bigger than ourselves. And so what a great experience. So very grateful and so appreciative of what transpired. And as I look at John Garden, he's one of another group I want to recognize, the principals and the directors. Boy, I often talk about those 1,000 paper cuts that they get. And there's an old saying, right? Death by 1,000 paper cuts, but it's the opposite. They're not dying. They persevere. They're so resilient, right? And everything that's been coming at them for over 2 years, and you still see John Garner, representative of all the other principals and assistant principals and leaders at the sites and the departments, still thriving, still succeeding. So thank you so very much for being such great representatives of not just our core values, but of leadership for sure. And then, speaking of leadership, I'll just end right there with the board. Today, during closed session, went through a second mid-year evaluation. Thank you for supporting that. I just really appreciate the feedback so that I can get better. How can I improve so that hopefully the system improves? And so thank you for your candor. Thank you for those recommendations. Look forward to continuing that practice, because I'll just end by saying that's a great modeling, right? That notion of monitoring progress, not just a summative evaluation, but interim, informal evaluations along the way. That's great modeling for the system. So all of you should be very proud. Thank you so very much. Thank you, President Hernandez.
Thank you very much. All right, there being no further business to come before the board, I would accept a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, sir. A second.
Second.
Your preferential vote. Thank you, sir. And we'll do a roll call. Member Colum.
Aye.
Member Bristol.
Aye.
Member Behringer.
Aye.
Clerk Flores.
Aye.
I vote aye as well. This meeting is adjourned.